was a shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place I could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the Hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, my name's Henry. This here will be part 6. We had moved into a new place, and Grandpa sold it to Mom for $1. Anyway, we settled into this place, and it was just a cluster of houses along the highway, and back behind was a field, and the little town, village, whatever you want to call it, set back there. That's where I would start school later on. It was nothing fancy. It was just a fairly decent trailer, house trailer, single wide. But it was home. It wasn't haunted. Later on it'd be haunted by me, but it didn't come with ghosts except for me. So I moved in there, and eventually Dad come home, and he'd talked to his mom. Dad found out where we'd moved to, and he showed up just like he always did. Like he'd only been gone long enough to go to work, but hell, he'd been gone for a few weeks. Anyway, after we settled in, I should say he settled in with us, he talked to the neighbor, which was about 3 houses down, and in between their cluster of houses there was a gravel alley, and in front of everybody's house, they had to pay for that amount of gravel, so we got that whole, it was like a Z, and it went from the highway around to the blacktop, which led to the village. Anyway, slowly got to know the neighbors, but still kind of kept our distance. Anyway, the first recollections I have of when things really started to ramp up inside of me, and it started out, the first memory I can have when we lived there was I started having dreams that sometimes went from dreams, sometimes flashes during the day. Later on, it'd go to, I'd be playing by myself, and this old man would show up, and the more I stared at him, he morphed from being young to being old, to being old to being young, back and forth. As time went on, they broke into two separate entities, and I'll never mention their name. The only one that really knows the truth about that is my parents and my dad. He's passed on now. And my wife. She'll never tell. Not as long as I'm alive. So anyway, had many a conversation with these two. And one day, the old man, I was out playing by the shade trees there with my trucks and stuff. Dogs was out there laying under the shade tree near where I was playing, and the old man showed up. He's a real old man, white-headed, and had a big old giant hat on. And I asked him, I said, "Can anybody else see you?" And he said, "Nope, just you." He proceeded to tell me that we was like brothers. I was to keep him alive, and he would keep me safe, because without me, he couldn't exist. I didn't figure it out till much later, but I guess in that milkshake, they put him in the milkshake with me. So he still lives inside of me. Along with two others, which you'll find out about later. So he'd pop out sometimes when just I was playing alone, or if I was in a room alone. He was a good old man. He told me, he said, "You ever get in trouble, I'll keep you safe, but you can't tell." Okay. So I think one of the first things that happened was that my dad got them horses moved, and this old man, he knew his way around horses. And sometimes when I go down there to take grain to the Appaloosa and throw out some hay, I wasn't supposed to get in there with him. But that old man would sit there and talk to me in that barn just a couple houses down. And he'd tell me things about what he had seen. And I'd still have flashes. Whenever he wasn't around, I'd have flashes of cattle, horses, and sheep being at different ranches working. I didn't understand it, but to me, I just thought they were dreams or daydreams or flashes of images. I thought maybe that's part of being a kid. You had these things. It wasn't until later years I found out that that was part of him showing me things that he had seen. And eventually, Kind of like when you move into a new house. Well, I got used to him being there, and when my father wasn't around, he was my father figure and mentor, so to speak. He kept me safe. I got myself into a lot of scrapes, and I didn't understand why, but now I know why. It wasn't I was getting myself into scrapes. It was a test that these government people was putting me through just to see what would happen and try to force my hand on things. So me and this old man, we become good buddies, kind of like Siamese twins, I guess you'd call it, because he lived inside of me, and we hit it off real good. I didn't know he was in there, but he saved my ass many a time. So I'll never reveal who he was, who he is, for several reasons. One, it'd probably get me killed. Two, I ain't being nobody's project. I ain't being nobody's lab rat no more. This is a secret that's between me and my wife, my parents. My grandparents are done gone. They knew. I had no clue back then. They was a part in on this here, along with my mom and dad. But you'll find that out here. Well, anyway, every time I'd be out there by the horses, he would come out and we'd talk, and he'd tell me things. When I go to sleep at night time, sometimes I would see flashes of images, hear things, smell things, see people. But then I started noticing something else. My dad had some friends, drinking buddies. Sometimes when they'd come around the house, they was okay. 1 beer, 2 beers okay, 3 beers okay. Somewhere after that, a few of them would get a little mean to me. And when Dad wasn't looking, they'd want me to leave the area and go in the house and sit, but I wanted to be out with the guys. And that goes back to this old man. And my dad, he wanted me around when he was home. We were like 2 peas in a pod. These guys would try to get me and my dad apart, and I guess they figured the best way to do that was, when he wasn't looking, try to hurt me or push me down, get me to cry if they could. Well, one too many times of that, and I'd get real aggravated, but I'd started noticing that whenever I'd look at them when they was in that stage where they was trying to push me around or push me down, trip me, hit me when Dad wasn't looking, their faces seemed to morph into some kind of a hideous looking creature, real ugly looking, almost to the point of like something that was rotten and just demonic looking. Well, that right there, when I was a kid, that's enough scared the shit out of me, and I'd gladly run to the house, get away from them monsters that I was seeing. Later years, I found out that I was really seeing the ugliness coming out in them, the meanness. Of course, back then I didn't know, and I figured they was turned into monsters like you see on TV. So I'd run, and next day my dad would ask me what happened, and I'd just tell him, I said, man, I know those guys are some ugly sons of bitches, but, you know, Jesus Christ, when you're not looking, they try to push me down, trip me, anything to hurt me, to get me to leave. And that's when I noticed the ugliness coming out in them. He goes, ugliness? I said, yeah. He said, what do you mean by ugliness? You mean because they're being mean to you behind my back or what? I said, no, they actually, their face gets replaced. Their whole body gets replaced. It looks real hideous. I guess the best way I could explain it is if you ever seen Freddy Krueger, kind of ugliness like that. I mean, just right down butt ugly. Scary looking. He was like, well, which one is it? So I told him, and he goes, I put a stop to this bullshit. Ain't nobody mess with my boy. I said, well, I don't want to get them in trouble, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. I said, you know, if not, you turn your back, they'll get me even worse. He goes, no, they won't. They better not lay a frickin' hand on you. I'll knock the holy shit out of them. Now, don't tell your mom about this. I'm gonna go have some beer tonight. I have a talk with them. If that don't work, I'll take him out there and thrash him a good one. Okay, I believed in him. So I went in the house, told Mom, and he come in a little bit later and went in and got cleaned up and told Mom, he said, I got some business to take care of. I'll be back in a little bit. Mom said, well, you got the house key. I'm still going to lock the door because sometimes you don't make it right back. And she said, I don't want to go to sleep with the doors open. So he got in the old pickup, headed to town. So I was sitting there eating supper with Mom, and got done. I went and took a bath. Come back in the kitchen, and my mom was still in there, and she goes, what was you and your dad talking about a while ago? I said, well, remember when I told you Dad's friends, when he turned his back or goes into the house to go to the bathroom, they kind of pushed me around and tripped me and wanted me to get away from him so they could sit out there and talk grown-up stuff? She goes, yeah. I said, that's what it was. I said, but don't tell Dad I told you because I wasn't supposed to tell you. She goes, I won't. She goes, maybe he'll stomp a mud hole in her ass. I said, wouldn't that be funny? I said, I wish I was bigger, because if I was bigger, I'd do it myself, but I ain't big enough to do it. She just kind of laughed and started having me tell her more about what they was doing, and of course I started getting a little upset and irate. But I held it in, I thought I did. While I was sitting there explaining to her, the milk jug in the refrigerator exploded. She opened the refrigerator door up, milk was everywhere, running out onto the floor. She's like, I don't know what the hell happened. At the time, I didn't understand. I found out years later that that's just energy built up inside of me and gets released on something. Instead of releasing on somebody, I'd release it on something, not knowing. And it caused the milk jug to explode in the refrigerator. It was a whole gallon of milk. She didn't say too much. She cleaned it up, put the milk jug in the trash can. She kept looking at me and she goes, you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She said, well, you better get in and go to bed. So I went in and went to bed. Sometime later that night, my dad come home and had to go past my bedroom, go past the bathroom, and then their bedroom was at the very end. Anyway, I heard him open the door, and he come in and squatted down beside the bed there by the nightlight. He goes, you awake? I'm like, yeah. He says, roll over here and look at this. He put his hands up like that. I noticed his hands was kind of scuffed up. He goes, I took care of that problem. Them sons of bitches do anything else, or anybody does anything to you, you come straight to me. I don't care who's around, you come straight to me. Ain't nobody touching my boy. Okay, Dad, thanks. I sat up in bed, and he gave me a big old bear hug, kissed me on the cheek. He said, you better get back in bed. He said, your mom find out I woke you up. We're both going to be in the doghouse. He said, I've had too much beer for that. So he says goodnight, and I say goodnight back to him. He shuts the bedroom door. He goes back to bed. And just about time I'm ready to lay back down in bed, I look over there in the corner, and there that old man is. He comes squatting over there, and he goes, sounds like he took care of the problem. I said, yeah, I hope so. He goes, me too. He said, because if you was bigger, I'd come through you and I'd work them over. I said, well, I'm hoping he did. His hands were banged up, so he beat the hell out of them. He goes, yeah, he said, it's just a damn shame that people have to pick on kids. And he said, I went through a lot of that. He said, I'll be inside. You ever need anything, you just go off by yourself and I'll come out. He said, by the way, he said, you know we share the same name. I said, we do. Yep. He said, your name's Henry. He said, how do you think you got your name? I said, well, I don't know. I really never thought about it, I guess. He goes, yeah, they give us the same name. He goes, well, see, we're like brothers. We're like Siamese twins. We're always going to be attached. But that's cool. So I fall asleep. He's sitting there on the edge of the bed. I wake up the next morning. He's not there. So I get up, put my pants on, put my boots on, and shirt. Open the bedroom door and went in and sat at the table. And Mom goes, so how you feel today? A lot better. She goes, that's good. She said, heard your dad took care of it. She said, I figured he would. I said, yeah. I said, where's he at? She said, he had to get up and go to work. I said, okay. She said, but once you get dressed, you want to, you can go out and play in the yard for a while I get some things done. Well, that'd be fine. So I got up, ate breakfast, and headed outdoors. I went out there just a few minutes, and she hollered out, you better go up and check on the horse. Okay, I forgot. So I walk up the gravel easement there and get to the barn, and I turned to the left to go to the barn and open the barn door, and there was that old man standing in there. I say, Henry, what are you doing? He goes, not too much. Henry, what are you doing? So I come up here to take care of the horse, make sure it got water and hay and a little bit of grain. He goes, I done took care of it for you. He said, but I don't know how we're going to explain. I got that bale of hay down up there. I said, well, what I would normally do is roll it to the edge of the loft and let it fall down in there, right there beside the stall. So I said, that's how we'll explain that one. Nobody needs to know any different. He just kind of chuckled. He goes, you're a smart kid. I said, yeah, thanks to you and my parents. I said, whoever else had a hand in on that, put me in that tube, created me. He just kind of laughed. We sit there and talk for a few minutes, and he said, you know anything about roping? No, other than what I see on Gunsmoke, Bonanza. He goes, a good lariat is something you really want to take care of. He said, I noticed you guys got a couple of them hanging up there by the saddles. Yeah, I didn't know what they was called. He goes, yeah, they're called a lariat. He said, used to driving cattle, you get a stray that would veer off away from the herd. And if you didn't want the herd turning with them, you might have to get up there and throw a rope around him and pull him back into the herd and loosen up the lariat and slide it off his head and horns. Basically kind of get his attention that he should stay in the damn pack and not be veering off where the Indians are getting, or the coyotes, the wolves. That's pretty neat. It's almost like driving a car. He goes, yeah, I guess. He said, I don't know, I never drove. That's funny, my grandma, she ain't never drove. She don't have a driver's license either, but she don't never drive. My grandpa, he does all the driving. He goes, yeah, I could teach you a lot of things. He said, I'd better off teach you in your sleep. How you do that? Don't you got to watch to learn? That's the way they taught me where I was born. They put up these things for me to watch, and that's how I learned a lot of things. He goes, shh, we're not supposed to talk about that. Ain't nobody supposed to know. So I forget. I think everybody's like me. He goes, no, you're special. He said, you're kind of a one of a kind. You're the first one that they experimented with. So he said, you're a good asset to them, but watch out, them bastards are bad. So I'll keep that in mind, Henry. He goes, well, enough for lessons. You need to go be a boy for a while, and I need to get some rest. I said, where do you go to sleep? He pointed at my chest. Right in there, boy. Right in there. I'm always in there. Your body is like my house. We share it. Okay. I didn't understand. I didn't know that they'd spliced us. So I shut the barn doors and walked back down the easement and went into the yard and walked up on the porch and stuck my head in the door and told Mom I was back, that I'd be out in the yard playing by the tree. So I go out there and sit by one of 3 maple trees we had in our yard. On the other side of the house, there was a row of white pines growing. Never played on that side because there wasn't too much ground that was level. It went down into a small ditch and usually had water in it. If I played over there too much and got dirty, my mom raised all kinds of hell, so I stayed on the dry side. I got to noticing this guy that lived next door to me. He's a little short, dark-headed man, built like a brick shithouse with a back door knocked out, which meant he's pretty stout. He had 5 or 6 boys. He was all the time cussing at them boys, and them boys was always doing something stupid. My dad never would have put up with something like that. He'd beat my ass. But them boys, they'd do something stupid, and I'd see them go running across the yard and down the alley, and that old man over there would be cussing at him. You gotta come back sooner or later. I'll be here waiting for you. I'll catch you. I got to watching him, and he'd smile and wave, and I'd smile and wave back at him. Well, anyway, I was out there playing in the yard, and that youngest boy had come in, and he said some pretty choice words to his dad and threw something at him. He took off running. The dad chased him through the garage. When he come out the side door, all of a sudden, it was like he ran into a brick wall. Fell. His dad caught him. Beat his ass right there. And I was sitting there just kind of smiling like, you got what you was asking for, didn't you? I didn't know it, but it was Henry inside of me that threw up a brick wall that he couldn't see. I found that out a few years after that. He was laughing about it one day, and he told me about it. Said he got tired of seeing that boy screwing with his dad, so he was going to make it so his dad could catch that boy and beat his ass. So, started having problems with people I didn't even know after I started getting to know the people in the neighborhood. I won't dare use none of their names because there might be still people alive that knew of these people. These people are all passed on now, but somebody listening might know who they are, and that would draw them right into my yard, and that wouldn't be a good idea. So anyway, across the street there was an old man and old woman. They were real old. They was in their 90s. They were foreigners, real nice people. They spoke broken English. Then there was a guy across the street from them, real great. His guy looked like a giant. His wife was a little bitty like a dwarf. They was good people. They later on was our babysitter. The person next door to the people that were legal aliens, they were Americans, but they were brought over here. People next door to them got to know that man and his wife. The woman was a bitch and constantly bitching at the old bald-headed fat man, but he was a good old man. He liked to fish. He's the one that got me really into the love. Him and my uncle got me into the love of fishing. I got to know all of them. Then later on, this old German woman moved in, and she was always screaming and hollering at her grandkids, chasing them out with a skillet, or she'd chase them out with a rolling pin, sometimes a fly swatter. Sometimes she'd catch them, sometimes she wouldn't. When she caught them, she'd beat their ass good. I got to know most of everybody there, and one day I was playing in the yard, and my dad come home with a bike. It was my first bike, a used one, but it was a full-size boy's bike. And he told me, he said, I'm going to take this to work tomorrow. And he said, I'm going to cut that metal bar off, and I'm going to take it and do some work on it and put it where it goes at an angle. He said, because it's a boy's bike, you got short legs, you'll be hitting your crotch on that thing all the time. Okay. He said, I'll bring it back, and he said, then you can ride it with training wheels in the easement, because nobody ever comes through here except for the neighbors, and they all drive slow because they all have kids and grandkids. Okay. So he takes it and he cuts that bar off so I don't smack my Weezer, and or as the British call it, my wheelie. And I get to talk to some of the neighbor kids, and they're going to teach me how to ride a bike because they was a little bit older than me. Dad adjusted the training wheels on there so that the bike would tip both directions. That way, when you come to a little mud hole, you wouldn't get stuck there and the tire be spinning. Okay. So he holds onto the back of the bike, and I get on it, and he said, all you have to do is just steer and pedal. Well, it took me a few tries, and I finally got her going, and I rode the hell out of it all day long, back and forth, from one end of that easement to the other end. Pretty long, it was about a block and a half. So, after a few months I really thought I knew what I was doing, and decided I'd take the training wheels off that thing, because the neighbor boy, he was older. He said, well, you got your balance. We're going to get you where you can ride with that training wheel, so when we ride down to the village to get soda and stuff, maybe your parents let you go with us. Hey, I was all for that. So we took the training wheels off, and Lord, they held on to the back of that bike, and I climbed on it, and did pretty good for a few minutes. A little wobbly, but I was keeping her in a straight line. Well, Don't know why I figured it was like riding a horse that you got to lean into the corners. And I got several rocks stuck in my legs and my hands several times. But I kept getting up and wiping the blood off and take off again. Well, after a while, I got the real good hang of it. After a few days, I could ride pretty fast through there. Well, days turned into weeks, and here's where the strange part starts coming in, because I was riding my bike. Everybody else was in school, and I was by myself. So I'm doing like I always do, ride from one end of the alley to the other end, back and forth, just me and my bike. Well, I'm about halfway in between each end, and here comes this car, shit barreling through there, sliding sideways, throwing rock, and all of a sudden they spotted me there on that bike. I don't know what made them think that I was going to be a target. They decided to pick me to run over. I never did figure out why until later years. These were some long-haired, scroungy-looking boys, and they was either drunked up or hopped up, or both. But they decided that day they was going to run me over. I had no clue I could do this. It's the first time I ever done it. That I've remembered. Well, they come toward me. Me and the bike disappeared from that spot. I wound up, because they were coming backwards, and wound up ahead of them. Well, they hit the neighbor's fence and stopped and looked, and I was in front of them, riding away from them. But that guy didn't waste no time. He didn't give a shit about that fence. He had just picked me for a target. He put that old car in drive and come after me again. That time he got on my back wheel, for whatever reason, I disappeared from that spot, and now I'm behind him, going the opposite way from him, away from him. He comes to the corner there, and he spins around, and I'll give him one thing, he was determined, the son of a bitch. He come flying around that corner sideways, and that time he got her straightened out, he was within about 5 foot of me. I was scared to death. I was crying and scared to death. I just knew I was going to die. That time he got within 3 foot of me. I don't know what was happening. I vanished from in the center of the easement, across the fence, in the grass by my neighbor's garden. Well, he hit the corner of their garage and took off. My neighbor come out there with a hoe from the shed up by the house and grabbed me, and he said, "You all right?" He said, "What the hell happened?" Of course, tears running down my face, and I said, "Man, son of a bitch tried to run over me." He said, "Well, what'd you do to him?" I said, "I don't even know who in the hell it was." My mom come running out of the house, and this old man, we'll call him Mr. A, he said, "Well, just leave your bike set here for a minute. Let's go over and talk to your mom, let her know you're okay." So we went across the alley there to my house, and Mom asked what happened. Mr. A told her that he didn't get to see all of it, but he did see that car, and he'd know that car anywhere. He'd think he'd know who the boys was. He ain't sure. He talked to my dad when my dad got home. Well, the other neighbor guy come out to live side by side with us, and he said a few choice cuss words, and he said, "I find the little son of bitches. Your husband won't have to worry about doing anything to them. We all got kids in this neighborhood. Well, Mom said, go get your bike. So Mr. A walked me over there, and Mr. C, and got my bike and pushed it up beside the house and leaned it against the house there and went in and got cleaned up. And my mom said, I got a question. As fast as that car was running, how did it miss you 3 times? I don't know. So I really don't know. And I didn't at the time. I had no clue that I was one doing it. I'd disappear from one spot and reappear someplace else. I don't know. She goes, well, go in and turn on Star Trek and just lay there and relax a little bit, maybe catch a nap. So I went in and turned the boob tube on and watched Spock. That old man appears in front of me again. He said, you're all right. He said, I told you I'd watch over and take care of you. I said, what the hell happened? He goes, there's lots of things that you don't remember, but you will. He said, it'll all come back to you. He said, I'm just glad you're okay. Yeah, I said, scared the shit out of me. I said, my dad's going to be mad when he gets home. He goes, and as well he should be. He goes, he'll be taken care of. So later at night, my dad comes home, and Mom tells him, and woof. Dude, he was pissed. He made sure I was okay, and he said, I'll talk to you in the morning at the table. So next morning I got up, went and sat at the kitchen table to eat breakfast, and he goes, you know who they was? I said, well, I ain't sure. I said, I know the car. I've seen it before, but it's never come through here. It's always been on the blacktop or the highway, and it's always acting crazy. I said, I see it going north all the time. He was okay. Stay here in the house. I'll be back in a minute. So he went and talked to the neighbor guys, and they knew who it was. So they told my dad to calm down. And they put word out. Dad said they ain't good enough. So he come over at the house, and he said, you done eating? I said, yeah. He told Mom, he said, don't worry about it. I'm taking him with me for just a few minutes. We'll be back. Mom, I didn't ask a question. I went out and got the truck. We pulled out of the driveway and onto the easement and out onto the highway and headed north. I said, where are we going? He goes, would you know that guy if you seen the driver? I said, yeah. Okay. We just go up the road just a little ways, and there's a house kind of set a little bit back off the road, and Dad pulls in there, and Dad knew the people. He didn't know the boy, but he knew those people. Pulled in there, and they called my dad by name, and Dad said, I'm not here on a social call. Where's that damn son of yours at? Yesterday he tried to run over my son not 1 time, but 3 times. Damn near killed my boy. I want to have a talk with him, and I want to know who them boys was in the car that kept egging him on. Oh, he was just high and drunk. We had to talk with him. He won't never do it again. Heard the back door slam, and somebody took off running across the field. That's when that somebody comes home. You tell him. He best get the hell out of town, because I find him, he's going to wish I hadn't. Oh, please, just calm down. Let us take care of the deck. No. He tried to kill my son. Not once. 3 times. He chased him forward, then he chased him backwards, and he chased him forward again. That's 3 times. He's got 3 ass kickings coming. the last one's going to be worse than the other two. Oh, they was bawling and squalling, and Dad said, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to do to him what you should have done to him a long time ago. I felt kind of bad for the boy in a way, but they could have killed me. So it went on a few days, and Dad kept watching for him, thinking maybe we'd see that car come through there again. Dad just back out and hit him with a truck. In any case, he was going to get his hands on him. So one evening, he pops in and hop in the truck. I got something I want you to see. Like, okay. I went out and got in the truck with him, and we headed up the road and come to the T section there, and he turned. Like, wonder where the hell he's going. We head down the blacktop, turn off on another road, and he's heading down toward the spring, and on past the spring, the creek. We get down there, and there's these boys down there tied up. Uh-oh. He walked over and grabbed that one by the hair of the head and had real long, greasy hair. And is this one of them? Yeah, it's the driver. He walked to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and I identified all of them. So he asked that kid, the driver, was it because you're just stupid? You didn't figure I'd find you? Or you were just too stupid to leave? He goes, I didn't do it because I wanted to. Dad said, then why in the hell did you... Was you really trying to kill him? He goes, I didn't want to. That ain't the question. The question is, why? We was told. And he just clammed up. Dad beat the hell out of him. Put him in the truck. Drove down some old roads and beat his ass some more. Finally, Dad turned him loose. Told him he better leave town and never come back, because every time Dad found him, he was going to do the same thing to him. Never did figure out at the time, but I found out later on these boys got paid by dope and some money to literally try to kill me is what they was supposed to do. So, went on quite a while later and had another little incident happen. I was with the boys, and we had rode down to the village, and on the way back there's a cemetery. We pulled into the cemetery on bikes, and we wasn't there to hurt nothing. We was going to ride there to them alleys while we were drinking our soda and shoot the shit a little bit. Anyway, we was riding around, and some older boys come out of the woods with their BB guns. And this one kid, the older kid, he had a .22 rifle. And it was a .22 rifle, it wasn't a BB gun. They come out of there and threatened to shoot us with a BB gun, and that older kid, he said, you know where you're at? Yeah, cemetery. He goes, you know what they put people in here for? Yeah, when they're dead. He goes, yep. You know what this here .22 rifle, you and I'm aiming on doing. I said, well, I don't know what you're aiming on doing, but you better not point a thing at me. My dad beat your ass. He goes, well, I'm fixing to take all you boys out. Put you in a deep hole back there in that holler. I said, well, let me tell you something, friend. You got a choice. We ain't bothering nobody. You need to just go on about your business. Now, the last son of a bitch tried to kill me. My dad damn near killed him. You really don't want that old man after you. But that boy loaded that gun up, aimed it toward me, and before he could pull the trigger, that gun backfired in his face. Them boys sitting there with me, they figured the gun had a malfunction. It wasn't a gun. It was me. I didn't know how I did it, but it was me. It took off half of his jaw, part of his ear. We got on our bikes and got the hell out of there. I went and told my dad what happened, and they called the paramedics down there, and that kid blamed me. That gun was tore all to hell. Then they asked him, and I told him what happened. Told Dad. Dad goes, well, it looks like justice was served. Well, the following day, my dad called me in there, and he goes, I got a question for you. He said, are you doing anything? What do you mean doing anything? He goes, strange things seem to happen around you, and you seem to get out of it. Well, don't know. So he lets me go on that one, just kind of like he's thinking. I'm not sure what the hell he's thinking at the time, but I know what he was asking. He was thinking I was beginning to show signs, and he was right, I was. I wasn't going to let him know that. I didn't know what all he knew, and I wasn't sure I knew all what I knew, so I figured better off to leave it at that, because I don't have any answers to the questions he's going to be asking. So one night I'm in there sleeping, and he come past the hallway, in the hallway there, and come past my bedroom, and he opened the door and peeked in there, and I'm in there asleep. So he goes on into the kitchen, getting his son to eat, raiding the icebox. He always done that at nighttime. He was a drinker, but he could eat. I think he is part horse and part hog. He in there eating. When he got done, he come back through and he opened my bedroom door. I wasn't there. So he, I assume, walked into the bathroom, because that was the next door, and then straight ahead was the bedroom. I wasn't in there. So he got Mom up, and they was both frantic. And Dad goes, just calm down. Where do you think he would have went? Mom goes, what if he got outside? Getting that cornfield, he wandered around all night long. Dad said, nah. I got a funny feeling where he went. He's been showing a lot of different signs that I guess I just ain't been picking up on or just don't understand. She goes, well, where in the hell do you think he went? He goes, he was only there just for a few minutes, and then when I come back through, he'd gone. He didn't go past me. He didn't go to the bathroom or the bedroom, our bedroom, because that's a dead end. He went back to that haunted farmhouse. Bet you anything. So they went out and jumped in the truck, and that old farmhouse was probably about 15, 20 miles away. They drove up there. I did. I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened. Some of what they call night walking. And that's not sleepwalking. I physically disappeared out of that bed. I don't know how I got there. And I reappeared in this old house. The old haunted house we just moved out of. When I appeared, that clown in there was after me. And there was this real tall guy that tried to get me to step on that truck and climb over, and I got my ass beat. They were chasing me all over that house trying to catch me. I think I'd run forever. I think I was going to just run myself to death. And quite a while had passed, and I seen some lights coming down the driveway as I was running past the windows trying to get hid, not get caught. My dad turned around there in the driveway, and of course I didn't know it was my dad at the time. He told Mom, you slide over here in the seat, keep the motor running, keep it in drive, keep your foot on the brake. I'm going to go see. And by the time he come to the gate, he seen me run through, he seen the clown after me, and he seen this tall man running behind the clown. He made it to the porch, and by the time I got to that door, he just stepped in and grabbed me and slammed them two doors shut. Come running off the porch with me under his arm like a football. He didn't open the gate, he jumped that son of a bitch. Threw me in the truck, told Mom, let's get our ass out of here. We got up to the end of the driveway, and he made the turn onto the gravel road. He goes, son, you got to stop this shit. I don't know how you're doing it, but you got to stop this shit. I didn't understand. It ain't like I went out there and got on a motorcycle and rode up there. It ain't like I went and got in a car, drove up there. It ain't like I climbed on a horse. 1 minute I'm in bed, the next minute I'm in this haunted house being chased. Not knowing how the frick I got there. So, he's all the way home. You gotta knock this shit off. We're gonna have to start keeping you away from people until you can get a hold on this. I wasn't understanding because I didn't know I was doing anything. It was just happening around me and to me. So, I'm agreeing and I'm not understanding. That shit's just happening. I had no control over it. You know, it's like you're sitting there and something happens and you're wondering how the fuck it happened. So anyway, we get home and he said, you come in here tonight to sleep with us. Between us. Okay. So I grabbed my little pillow and went in there and slept, and that way they knew if I was gone they wouldn't feel me. I didn't know I was doing it. It was something I was born with, where I could disappear from any place I was at and show up either right there beside it or miles away, just according to what was going on at the time, how far I needed to get. And again, I didn't know how I was doing it. It would just happen. Just like other things was happening. Things moving. Seeing people doing bad things and seeing them ugly as shit. There was all kinds of things going on in me I wasn't understanding. Had no clue. Tried to be normal like everybody else. So I started staying indoors and just playing right there in the yard, and whenever I see people coming, kids, I'd get up and go in the house. There were some days I didn't even go outside. But now I started beginning to feel like a freak. You know, I didn't understand. I thought everybody had done that. Whatever it was I was doing, I thought it was happening to everybody else. No, it was just me. So now I'm scared, thinking, what if I accidentally hurt somebody innocent? So I start staying to myself, watching a lot more Star Trek and Kung Fu. So one day the neighbor kid comes up and knocks on the door. I wouldn't go answer the door. I started feeling really different. I didn't answer the door. By the time he leaves, my mom pulls in. She goes, oh, he's he's pretty sick, and it's contagious, so you better not go up around there. Well, she come in the house, you got rid of him, and you come in the house, and she goes, did you know they was knocking? I said, yeah. I said, but I just feel like a freak, These things happen around me. I notice these other kids, things happen to them like that. And I said, I know the gun thing. Those kids started talking, and they didn't want nothing to do with me no more. They think that I caused that gun to blow up. I'm going to go, you probably did. She said, you're different than most boys. So you have to have a lot more responsibility for your actions. Well, she knew, but she wasn't going to say nothing. She was just trying to smooch things over. Found out later how much she was involved. Her and my grandma had a lot to do with this shit. Later on, I found my dad was in on it, and so was my grandpa on my dad's side. A lot of the other families knew about it. About me being a milkshake and not being like everybody else. They got paid to keep their mouth shut. Not tell me nothing. Everybody got paid except for me. But I got away from all them family members and assholes that got paid while I was suffering. In 7, you'll find out a lot more. This just gets you started to kind of let you know who Henry is and how this kind of started. In 7, we'll be getting more into I go back to get drug into the projects. Right after I started school. So if you want to hear more and you like what I'm telling you, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, leave a comment. I'll see you on number 7. Henry saying good night.